We've worked our whole lives, saved and invested just to achieve financial freedom, and been led to believe that instead of painting the perfect financial picture, everyone's plan is the same. But the truth is, no one is like you, and you deserve a financial strategy just as unique as you are. How do you navigate the complexities and volatility of a financial environment that just never sits still? And how do you find the guidance you need? Who do you trust with the wisdom to paint your financial masterpiece? You've arrived. This is the Wealth Council. Thanks so much for joining us on the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson, and we're going to talk about taxes today because the tax man is coming. You may have an idea that you've got a number. The number may not be the number that's all yours. We're going to talk about this tax situation with independent advisors from around the country. Ryan Willis out of Texas, Brittany Hagy coming to us from Tennessee, and out of Connecticut, Ben Fuchs. Nice to have you all with us. Brittany, I'm going to start with you. Why does the number I have in my retirement account not necessarily my number?
Oh, you have a partner in your retirement account.
I don't like this discussion.
You have a partner. It is not all yours. I remember that commercial that had the number above people's heads.
We walk around holding the number?
Yes, yeah. And it is misleading because that number is not the real number. So much of that is tax dollars that you will have to pay when you take those distributions. So people think if I can just get to this dollar amount, I'll have enough to retire. But so much of those dollars, 10, 20, 30, 35%, doesn't belong to them. And here's why it's important. Because you cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. You're going to delay it. If you delay it and delay it, you're going to face it at some point. Why not face it when it's on your terms, when you have a window like we have right now to take advantage of the tax law that is in place to minimize your taxable liability?
Ryan, why is this such a good window?
Well, it's the third best tax environment in history. And if we think taxes are going to stay where they are, they're not, folks. The country is $35 trillion in debt. We're adding $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. So taxes have to go up. And what people don't realize when it comes to retirement, taxes have a domino effect. And here's what I mean. For the more taxes you pay on your income, the higher distribution you need out of your portfolio to maintain your lifestyle. The higher distribution you need, the greater return you have to get. As return goes up, risk goes up. If risk goes up, now you're subjecting yourself to a major market decline in your portfolio. And if that happens, you may not be able to continue financing your lifestyle in retirement. That's all because of taxes. So the higher taxes you pay, the more risk you have to take in your portfolio.
Ben, are we worried about the brackets that we're in at this point and how they're going to change after the sunset rule at 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like anything else, they haven't made any changes. We don't know what's going to happen next. I think about it like this. Have you ever been to a friend's house and you realize they have the exact same thing that you do? Doesn't matter what it is, car, TV, anything.
Okay.
And the next question is, oh man, that's awesome. How much did you pay for that? Right?
Because I want to know whether I got a deal.
Right, did I get a deal? And then they tell you about this amazing deal that they got and how little they paid and you're like, oh, I should have done that. Well, that's where we are right now. That's where we are with taxes. You have the opportunity to get a deal if you do something.
We like bargains.
We like bargains and we like control. We want to take control. We want the opportunity to do something now, or we could just let it sunset and see what happens. But we might as well take control and do something about it.
Yeah, but Ben, just because the tax cuts are sunsetting in 2024 or 2025, it does not matter or does not mean you should not continue doing tax planning.
Oh,
right?
no.
Mm-hmm.
Tax planning is so important. Here's one of the most overlooked things time and time again when it comes to this. When a wife outlives a husband, which statistically happens, right? She has 1 year left to file a joint tax return. Then she must move over to single filer brackets, all right, which are way more punitive, by the way, than the joint tax income brackets. So what happens is she loses a Social Security check, all right, And then on the remaining income, she pays 50% more tax than she was on all the income combined when her husband was still alive.
I have no argument for me. I think we always need to continue tax planning. I think tax planning is a nonstop function, and it will continue to change over time, which is why you need somebody to work with you when taxes inevitably continue to change.
Okay, you guys say somebody to work with you. Brittany, how many times do you have somebody come in and say, nobody's ever talked to me in my plan? At least the advisor that I was with before didn't talk to me about my plan.
It's more frequent than you would think, where folks say, man, nobody's ever talked about this with me before. I'll give you a quick example.
Okay.
When we talk about diversification,
Yep.
we immediately think asset allocation, taking differences in risk,
Sure.
tolerance, things like that. But what most people don't think about is diversification when it comes to tax statuses. Having taxable accounts, but then also having these tax-free accounts like a Roth or something like that that could work differently than your traditional accounts, so that you can minimize, again, your taxable liability when it comes to taking distributions from the dollars you've spent your lifetime saving.
Don't we have a problem, Ryan, of people coming in and saying, I don't want anybody to touch my lump sum. I'd like to just continue this thing going. We talk about kick the can a bunch of times and moving this thing down the road. I'll worry about that later. The danger in that is?
Oh, substantial danger. One I just alluded to about the wife having 1 year left to file
Sure.
a joint tax return. But the reality is taxes will play a central role in how long your money lasts. And you cannot control what the tax rates are, but you can control, as Brittany mentioned, your composition of accounts. That is how much money you have in an IRA account, how much you have in a tax deferred account, and how much you have in a tax-free account. And the sad thing is we're taught to put money in a 401k, get the company match, and defer. Well, no one saw when this 401k plan was introduced to the Internal Revenue Code in 1978 that taxes would be where they're going to have to go in the future, because our country was not $35 trillion in debt back then.
And put on top of that, required minimum distributions. Think about when you get to the point where you have to begin taking money from your tax-deferred accounts.
That the government pushed back again.
That's right. Now, this is a problem, especially for those who don't need the money, who don't need to take the distributions, but they're backed in a corner saying, hey, you have to take these distributions. What does that do to their tax bill?
How about their kids, Brittany?
That's absolutely.
Kids have 10 years now to liquidate IRAs over a 10-year period. So if you're someone who went out there and worked hard, put your kids through school, saved a lot of money, did without, but now you're in a situation where you're going to leave that money to your kids and they're doing well in life, using that degree you gave them, right? Well, you're going to dump a $1 million IRA on top of your child's income.
Question is, have you taken the steps forward that you need to understand what this means? Because time is running out. If we're talking about a sunset at the end of 2025, has your advisor talked to you about your tax plan? Maybe you need to call the number on your screen right now for a second opinion. Click the QR code. Let's put together a plan for you, because without a doubt, the Taxman cometh. And the Wealth Council continues after this.
Think of how much you've saved in your 401k, 403b, or TSP retirement accounts, okay? You have that number? Great. Now, subtract 20 to 30% from that number for taxes. That's how much you actually have saved. Call the Wealth Council at 844-463-3466 right now for your free retirement tax guide. Your 2024 tax guide is free for the viewers of the Wealth Council, so call now, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson. Let's talk about inflation a little bit. We know it's here. We know we're feeling it. The question is it here to stay, and does it actually figure into your retirement plan? Independent advisors from around the country. Jay Hagy out of Tennessee, John Papa out of New Jersey. Gentlemen, nice to have you with us.
Great to be here. Thanks to be here.
I want to talk about where we are, because we're feeling it at the gas pump. We're feeling it at the grocery store. Everything we do, we're feeling it. I think there's probably a belief for some people, eventually this is going to go away and I don't have to figure for that. Correct?
Yeah, well, that's what the Fed has told us for years now, right? This is just transitory, and maybe some high inflation rates were transitory, but inflation is not just going away. It's coming at us year over year. Just let me give you a few numbers here. From 2020 until 2024, some of the core things that we spend money on, food, it's up 25% in a 4-year period. Gas, utilities, energy up 27% in a 4-year period. Now, that's not the typical 3 to 4% inflation they want to talk about.
Right.
And so, inflation is not going away. It's not just transitory, it's continuing.
Are there advisors figuring this into plans, John?
Yeah, well, they better be figuring into plans, right? So we have clients that are coming in and they're not even factoring inflation in. And why it's so important for people who are in retirement on a set fixed income is because if your expenses are going up 5, 10, 15%, and your income is staying level because you're on Social Security, maybe a pension, RMDs, it has a huge impact on how much income you have. And what's the really number one concern that people have is running out of money.
Absolutely.
Retirement. So inflation is a huge impact.
Well,
on
we're
retirement
living
time.
longer.
Yeah.
And just on average, men are going 18 years into retirement.
Right.
Women are going 21 years into retirement. And as you talked about, some are going much longer than that. At this point, I'm going to cite an Allianz study. 7 out of 10 Americans are reporting they're not contributing as much to savings due to higher prices on everyday goods. I can go into further number on that. But if you're not figuring that, my question is, are advisors using the right number on what we're going to see in those 18, 21 years into retirement to figure into the plan?
Well, number one, on your spending plan when it comes to retirement, you need to make sure that you do have longevity figured in because, like you said, people are living longer than ever before, and our retirements are lasting longer. But in that, most times when people come in, if I'm giving a second opinion, a lot of times they're not even figuring in inflation at all. They're looking at today's dollars and going on the length of time. But you at least need to be factoring 3, 4, 5% inflation rates over those time periods. And we do all 3 of those actually, and we model them out so that people can see here's the effect of inflation over time at different rates, and how quickly that you need to double your income over time is dependent on how much inflation and how high inflation is.
And Brett, a quick stat on that is, at these inflation rates that we have right now, in living 25, maybe possibly 30 years in retirement, expenses are going to double every 8 or so years. So if you're going to live 24 years in retirement, you have $4,000 a month in expenses, say, that's going to double to $8,000 in 8 or 9 years. $8,000 is going to double to $16,000. So you really have to have an income plan that's going to be increasing and have a strategy to combat inflation. If you don't, running out of money becomes an issue.
Well, the study also says 42% of Americans have dipped into retirement savings due to inflation alone, which tells you if you're not planning that in a plan and you're dipping into something that you already had planned for something else, you're in serious trouble by the numbers you've just cited.
Exactly, because you're going to run out of money. And that's the number one fear for retirees. I don't want to run out of money. I don't want to have to rely on my kids.
Not only people are they dipping into their savings accounts right now when they shouldn't be in their retirement plans, they're going into credit card debt for daily expenses. $1.1 trillion is what our country has in credit card debt. It's highest it's ever been. And it's the inflation that is not transitory, that is not going away. If we don't have a plan for this and have a plan to get out of this debt and continue to not dig into our savings or how to create a better spending plan, you are going to be in trouble.
Isn't the credit card part of what is now mirroring what the federal government is doing, as we are $35 trillion in debt?
Very much
and now
so.
credit cards that used to be at 3 and 4% when you would pay them off are now at 21 and 25 and 28 and 31%. And the only way that I can pay off my bills is to go into something like this,
And
which
the only problem with
creates
that, Brad,
problem.
though, is the federal government can just keep printing money, which is what they're really good at.
You can't print
You
money.
can't do that in a retirement plan for an individual. We can't print money. We go to jail for that.
Give me the best solution on dealing with inflation as I go into retirement.
Yeah, the best solution to deal with inflation is actually to have a realistic plan now, because maybe you're already in retirement, like he was saying, and you're on a fixed income stream, and you if we didn't have cost of living raises on our Social Security, we would be in real big trouble right now. But we have to have a realistic plan and a realistic approach, and so we want to make sure we're maximizing your retirement accounts, that we're not trying to dip into those too early, like the study that you was shown. We need to make sure that we are putting away enough money now so that we can deal with and battle inflation along the way. If you don't have a plan with what you're doing with especially your spending plan, you're in big trouble going forward.
It's not going away. Inflation's here to stay. Do you have it planned in? Do you have the right number? Do you have an advisor that's figuring it out for you? Call the Wealth Council. Call the number on your screen. Click the QR code. Let's get a plan to combat inflation. Wealth Council returns after this.
Are you preparing to make your retirement funds work for you while not taking too much risk? While there is no substitute for sitting down with an independent financial advisor, why don't you learn the strategies of investing as well? Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now to learn about investment strategies that align with your goals. Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now. 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, joined today by Kristen Taylor out of Columbus, Ohio. Kristen, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Cynthia?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much. And Kristen, I've known you for so many years, and you have such a passion for helping others retire with confidence, retire with clarity. Where did that passion and drive come from? Let's talk a little bit about your story.
Well, you know, my internal drive and passion really comes from my maternal grandmother, Nana. She helped raise me throughout my young life when my mother wasn't around. And so she taught me from an early age about sacrifice and family and community. And through her work in Cleveland, she had a wonderful sense of community. She loved her city. She loved politics. She loved the people around her. And she worked for the Cleveland Health Department. And so I got to see just that firsthand sense of charity and community and service through her. And we would have hour-long discussions sitting in her room. I still remember she lived in an old Victorian house in East Cleveland, and we would sit in her big bay window and have conversations about politics and sports. She loved the Browns, and she loved everything about her city. And we didn't always agree, but I learned to have good, respectful conversations about things that are really hard today, I think, for people, you know? They really struggle with that. And so she did a really good job of teaching me as she went by the way. And I don't even know if it was always intentional, but that's what she did. So when I fast forward to later in life, as I went through the years working and doing the things I did to get to where I'm at now, I feel like a little bit of that was intertwined as I went through those years.
That's amazing. So teaching you to have a serving heart, helping others, and just being that bright light that you always are.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, it's funny when we look back on our lives, and I don't know if you've ever done this reflection, but I worked for McDonald's as a high school kid and through college. And one of the things I loved doing as I worked in the restaurants was sitting with our breakfast club.
Okay.
Every restaurant has one.
Yes.
There's a group of, it's usually older gentlemen, they're sitting around, they're solving the world's problems, they're talking economics, they're talking investments.
Yes.
And little did I know that that would be what I do for a living.
That's incredible.
I know, it really is, and I really enjoyed it. Sometimes I would get, you know, lost in the conversations with them as I was working. And our, you know, management team loved that, you know, we had conversations with people. They'd sit and drink coffee and eat and do all those things. Sometimes they'd even stay through lunch. And so as I sit at the table every week at our office with families and get to hear people's stories and know what makes them tick and have conversations, I think back on these experiences I've had. There's nothing that happens by accident in our lives. And if we look at everything we do throughout our life as having a purpose, I think we can intertwine it into who we are today in our careers.
Most definitely. And Kristen, again, your bright light and your serving heart always comes through every week that we're together on the show. So I am so thankful to be with you today. Thank you for taking the time to come in with this Advisor Spotlight.
Thank you for always being there for us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching the Wealth Council. We'll be right back momentarily. The Advisor Spotlight today, Kristen Taylor from Columbus, Ohio.
For your free Social Security maximization guide from the Wealth Council, call 844-463-3466. Taking part in getting the most from your Social Security with this guide costs you nothing. Not taking part can cost you and your spouse a lot. Discover strategies that fit your unique situation and help you make the most of every dollar. Call for your free Social Security maximization guide from the Wealth Council, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson. We're going to talk about something with a lot of you out there have dealt with Dealing with market volatility, scared of market volatility, so you ran to annuities. It was a safe place to be. But we have independent advisors from around the country who are going to talk about that issue and why it may need a change right now. Greg Taylor out of Ohio and Gary Thurman out of Tennessee. Gentlemen, why would we talk about refinancing your annuity at this point?
Greg, I mean, I think people bought annuities, I hate to use the phrase at the wrong time, but they bought annuities, over the last 2, 3, 4 years when interest rates were really, really low, right? And now they're upset because they haven't made any returns in those annuities because of the low interest rates. And guess what? You can't be mad at the annuity. You can't be mad at the company or the advisor. You just bought it at the wrong time, right? I mean, and now we got high interest rates, so you got some options there.
Well, think about what's taken place in the last several years, Gary. We went through the pandemic. People saw their market investments drop drastically within a very short period of time. Things were kind of up in the air. People wanted some security. And you look at 2022, what happened? Stocks and bonds both went down double digits. Why? Because as interest rates started to fall, that took its toll on the bond market and what bonds were doing. And it also, because of the low interest rate environment, it caused people to buy annuities in a time where they wanted security, but they didn't realize they were being locked in to a very, very low yield opportunity.
So they're angry at this point.
Yes.
They're angry because the market's been well.
Okay, so the market has done well. I was protecting myself and I didn't gain anything. What's my option now?
Like,
What's the
I didn't make
solution?
2%, Gary. I didn't make 3%, Gary. I didn't make anything at all because of when I purchased this. And again, don't be mad because it did its job. It protected you in 2022.
Right.
But now interest rates are up. We talk about refinancing our homes and our cars when interest rates are low.
Yeah.
Interest rates are high right now. And listen, we're on a limited time here because they've already told us they're going to cut rates 2 or 3 times this year. But right now, we have got an opportunity to refinance your annuity, put you into a better annuity that's going to work better for you. And now we're buying it at the right time. We're not buying it at the wrong time. We're buying it when interest rates are up. So the potential to lock in some good gains is going to be there in the future.
Well, let's talk for a minute from the other side, the consumer side for just a moment.
Okay.
What things should consumers right now be worried about if someone is offering to refi their annuity? What types of annuities should they look out for?
Well, I mean, in my personal opinion, I'm not a big fan of immediate annuities. Some of the way they're structured, I mean, they can give you a great income, Brad, but if you pass away, your wife, your spouse, your husband gets nothing, right? And I tend to stay away from variable annuities because of the fee structures.
Okay.
And they're not protected. And the reason we do annuities is what? For safety. Variable annuities are not safe. They're subject to market volatility.
Right, and the fees there can sometimes, I've seen fees around 3%, I've seen them around 4%, I've even seen fees over 5% per year in a variable annuity, and sometimes to the point where we would call the company together because they didn't believe what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what we do.
So if I jumped into an annuity at the wrong time and I'm mad about the situation, how am I to be sure that now's a good time for me to look at refinancing in this?
Well, you got to look at the company, you got to look at the structure of the company and the strength of the company, but you got to look at the program. And I say this to clients all the time, you got to look at the fine print.
You do.
People need to understand how annuity works. You got to be educated because you are losing some liquidity there, but you're gaining so many other great things that go along with it. And that's why it's not where you put all of your money, it's where you put part of your money. Mostly to create an income, right, Greg? That's our main goal with a properly structured annuity is to create that income stream. That's why $385 billion went into annuities just last year. $385 billion, guys, that's a lot of money.
It is, and whether or not someone's looking to protect growth with a fixed index annuity that has now higher yield potential, or someone that's looking to protect income. And we've recently seen families be able to increase their income, their lifetime income. A family currently taking approximately $60,000 per year of lifetime income was able to refinance that and increase it to $72,000 per year. So whether you're looking for higher yields or higher income payouts, it is an opportunity that I don't think is going to last very long.
I really don't either. I think we're on a very limited time, and that's why I think it's so urgent for people to get a second opinion on your current annuity. Get a second opinion, look at something different, see if you can make yourself better. do better. That's what we always want to do. Let's see if we can do better with your annuity and refinance it.
Better is always better, isn't it?
Better is
We
always
say
better.
it all the time on this program, and this is a time, if we talk about a short window, this may be that time. If you've been angry about where your annuity has been, it hasn't increased the way you want it to, you may be in the perfect time for refinancing your annuity. So give the Wealth Council a call. Call the number on your screen, scan the QR code. Let's put that in part of your retirement plan, because refinance time might be right now. Give us a call. It's the Council's wisdom. It's your wealth. The Wealth Council returns after this.
Are you preparing to make your retirement funds work for you while not taking too much risk? While there is no substitute for sitting down with an independent financial advisor, why don't you learn the strategies of investing as well? Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now to learn about investment strategies that align with your goals. Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Council right now. 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466.
We're all different when it comes to retirement, but most of us have that same lingering question. Can I do this? Well, the Wealth Council is here to say yes, you can. And it's why we emphasize how important it is to have a plan, and not just any plan, a plan that an independent advisor has built just for you. A holistic plan that addresses investing, long-term tax plan, Social Security, and legacy planning to help you navigate the retirement of your dreams. So if you've been waiting and wondering, maybe this is your time. Call or click the QR code now. Reach out to someone that you can trust. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brad Johansson, and until next time, it's the Council's wisdom, it's your wealth.